I don't know what it is, so I'm just introducing. I can't even remember who's actually doing the featured comics. So
I know what it is.
You can't. Oh yes, it's Lords of the Video Wasteland.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my god!
Yay! Surprise! Oh, that worked out well.
I wish. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quackcast number 250. No, it's 350. Yeah, I think it's 350. Welcome to Quackcast number 350. There's an extra 100 there that I didn't know we had, just hiding. So this is the Drunk Duck Quackcast, and this week we're going to be talking about script writing or adapting your comic into a movie script or something like that. And we have Pit Face. Hello, Pit.
Hello.
Hello, Pit. We have Tanserine. Hello, Tans.
Hola, hola.
Hola. We have Mr. Baines.
Mushy, mushy.
Mushy, mushy. And we have Emmett, also known as Sugary Head. Surgery Head. Surgery Head.
Sugary head. That's funny too.
Sugary head. Surgery head.
I knew this would happen. Well, what's the crack, bud?
We're going to be talking about scripts, which is an interesting thing, and basically turning your work into a script, because that is, like, if you do a creative project, that is one of the the end games of that thing. You know, that's like a dream, to be able to have your thing adapted into like a cinematic kind of thing, like the actual actors playing the characters that you devised. So we're going to talk about how to actually turn that into reality.
Unless you're Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, he doesn't want that?
Exactly. Oh, famously, yeah.
Oh, he's such a dickhead. Famous dickhead. All right. Before we get into that, I've got to mention the featured comic for the week. So, here's the featured comic.
Hello, this is Koide Gakse, and the feature I've selected for this week is Obsession Eternal by Zachary Yaza, and it is rated M for mature. In the 99th year of the Fifth Age, a chain of events changed the world forever. An immortal emperor is at the center of a planned attack, and the group behind it may be close to him. After a plan to hurt the Lord is thwarted due to his unclean blood, his attackers stop at nothing to make sure he does not come back. This is a folk story told by dragons. The armies will be defeated, the fortress will be collapsed, the pious lose their masks, and the world will be mired in chaos and madness. Or not. The art is drawn and painted digitally. All pages are in full color. Enjoy this tale of Solmay, the heart of the universe, where the fate of the world is resolved, and read Obsession Eternal by Zachary Yaza, rated M.
And that was the featured comic, yes. All right, so next up we have the featured music, which Gumwallace has given us. Gumwallace's theme this week is Stuffed
Also
Nature. What's that, Baines?
Oh. Nothing. I figured you wouldn't know that already, or you wouldn't know that either. So.
No. Gumwallace has given us many themes, and thank goodness. So it's called Stuffed Nature. This music, I would describe it, is groove to the cool, solid bass line with a bright lightning squiggle of keys and the even pacing of quiet guitar. This will get you in the mood for action. So take it away, Gumwallace, with Stuffed Nature. was our featured song by Gun Wallace. Thank you very much for that, Gun Wallace. It was Stuffed Nature, which is like a comic strip kind of thing by
Fucking hell, fucking no other.
Cadius. Cadius.
Murder bitch.
All right, back to the Quackcast. Pitt and Emmett, you're writing a script there right now, are you? Lots of colourful language.
Shuffling cards.
What's that?
I'm shuffling cards.
Oh, of course.
No, I am actually working on. I'm trying to sell. Me and my buddy Rob are writing scripts to try and sell, and we're in the middle of like our 5th one right now, and it's a real headache. It's fucking horrible. Did you ever watch Max Landis' videos? You know Max Landis?
No.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay.
He's an incredibly prolific screenwriter, and he bang out amazing scripts in like a period of hours, and it's just like me and Rob really want to get to his level, so we're killing ourselves trying to get a bunch of scripts out.
Wow.
Which is really hard, but sometimes really fun.
Wow. That sounds like hard, like sweating kind of nail pulling, hair pulling kind of work to do, you know?
Especially when you're trying to sell it, because there's one thing like I love writing comic scripts because you're not. This has to be done with special effects that cost money. This has to be done with actors. This has to be done in location. This has to be drawn. Whatever the fuck you want it to be. But writing a film is. There's so much gnawing in the back of your head the whole time. It can be very, if you're actually trying to do something like that. So make short films. So we write short film scripts, which is a whole different ball game because it has to be very fucking concise. Like, you know, if you guys write really concise chapters for your comics, you know what I'm talking about. But then there's the no budget aspect that has place. So we have to do something interesting and then make something that costs no fucking money. Which is a lot of fun. I love doing it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love doing it.
Yeah, because there's aspects like, say if you're doing a comic, you can have it set on like a giant space station orbiting around a planet or something like that, or like a penthouse bedroom or something like this. But if you're doing a film script, you just have to realize, hang on, if I did a location like that, that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And it's going to take ages to make props and everything like that. So I have to do it like in a local cafe that I can get, or I can do this place. We can go down by the river. There's an excellent place there. We can do that, and then you have to write according to what you can get.
A couple of summers ago, and we went all around the country, all around Ireland, looking for amazing locations because I did a lot of outdoor hiking shit all over the country a couple of years back, and I noticed there's these amazing locations that if you film there, it would look good because it's just there. And we went around the whole country looking for all these locations, and we found great locations we wanted to shoot. We wrote the thing based on it. But then when we got the actors, we realized that we couldn't bring the actors all around the country because we couldn't afford to pay them. So we had to all shoot it.
Jeez, yes.
Right.
There's all those damn logistics, yeah, and they add up. I mean, that's a matter of scale. If you had the money, then you could do it, obviously. But yeah, you have to write according to the size of the project that you're working on. That's a very good point. The genesis of this particular
I have to interrupt just a little bit because, of course, that is a good point. But if you really want to make this super polished, super detailed comic where you have backgrounds of, I don't know, cathedrals and giant cityscapes and all sorts of different details and stuff. And you have to actually factor that into the cost because, of course, it will be cheaper than a movie.
Yep.
However, I think you will need to have specifically be making all the backgrounds as opposed to some other cartoonists that will be making the action. Or you will be paying one cartoonist artist to make all of it, but they will be paid by the hour, or the page price will go. So you still have to be able to be flexible, I guess, in a sense, a little bit less than in a movie, but there is always a limit.
In fact, it can be worse. Because if you wanted to shoot a movie in a cathedral, find a way to go to a cathedral. But or if you wanted to shoot a movie, a no-budget movie with an army, you could go to your local reenactors. But if you wanted to make a comic with a load of stuff happening, wanted to be quite long, you need DC or Image or something to give you the money to pay the artist to do that, or to have the time so you get yourself to draw it. So actually, It's just as gatekept as the film industry.
Yeah.
That's an interesting aspect.
Good point.
Yeah. Doing the comic can increase your time, even if you're drawing yourself. It takes a lot more time to do those kind of complex kind of settings and pages.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently, like anime and even manga is like there is kind of the way you guys have described, that there's one person, or I don't know, maybe a team even, devoted to backgrounds. Other people are doing characters and stuff like that. I mean, that's
Usually the famous people are the ones with the character.
Yes. Yeah, the really tough work is done. And I mean, that's why, they look so textured and they look so damn good. Because you have the budget for these additional people, or the investment, and, you're not releasing one issue every 5 years or something. You have to have all these people working on it.
Oh, yeah, unless you got a real talented one-man band like Masamune Shiro in the old days. He used to work by himself.
And do all the detailed backgrounds.
Yeah, he did that all by himself originally, and then he had one assistant, and then he fired the assistant because he worked better by himself.
Those lesbian orgies all by himself, except with any help.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to be by yourself when you're doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Okay. All right. So the genesis of this particular Crackcast was we had this thread where we were talking about say if you had if your project was going to be turned into a movie, what compromises would you make to simplify it for the movie? Or would you allow compromises to be made or whatever? Or would you, decide, oh, hang on, I can't have my character with pink hair and like arseless chaps. She's got to have like normal pants to fit in with this, and she's got to have like normal hair with maybe a few streaks of pink. And, I'll do this in order to make it more acceptable or whatever. And so I wrote it about that, and I asked people, what changes would you make? From my point of view, I wouldn't make any changes. I would say, look, I want my comic as is written. I want it to be, I don't care if it's acceptable. If it's not, then don't make a movie. Unless you're going to pay me like several $1 million, then it doesn't matter. But I would just
say to keep it the same as the comic. That would make me wonder, like, how would you put the Trumpers in it and stuff like that? Like, how would you go about like those big mechanical feats?
I'd just do it like they did in RoboCop and Star Wars. Have the little models and have them stop motion. Do it old school and have the big props for the still scenes. Just like they used to do.
Yeah, dude.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
No computer graphics. All practical effects.
It's not that bad these days. If you had a big enough budget, it could look really good. And if the story was good enough, if the CGI wasn't great, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I've seen great movies with terrible CGI that it's just like, I don't care. I'm enjoying it,
That's true. I like some of the old 90s, late 90s ones with bad CGI, and they hold up, even though it's pretty ropey. Like Screamers or something like that. It still works. So, yeah. It's not too
I have a
bad.
question about adaptation. I have a question about adaptation. Probably for Pitface. Familiar with anyone else's works, but I know Pitface's comic Putrid Meat is a long epic, like with many different stories and stuff. How would you condense that into a 90-minute feature? How would you take the Bones' story and like how would you guys sing let's say that the idea of a series of films isn't definite, like that you have to tell your story in one movie. How would you do it?
Well, I think for Putrid Meat, I mean, it's already actually kind of in 3 acts already. It's just the third act is or the second act is super extended.
Right.
Probably still depends on what I'd want to focus on, but I think I would still keep the focus on his journey back to Septica. So the first part would be kind of like building up the world and the characters and stuff. But
Bones is the corpse delivery man or whatever he was.
Exactly. Yeah. The and then it would go into that second part, you know, where he has to go back to Septica, and I might have to do some stuff like cut out. I mean, I'd have to cut out some of the little episodic stories in between, which would suck, but you'd have to. And then it'd go into the end where he fights Exodus, and I think that would be a pretty well-rounded movie.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty straightforward story. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could compress it because you don't have to have every single part in the story in order to get to those points. You can just not show certain scenes, which works out.
That was a long text scroll in the beginning, like Star Wars.
Narration, like those B movies from the 80s. Someone says at the start, and the world was destroyed when the nuclear bombs hit. And this is all that's left. Dry desert.
A really cool exposition in Putrid Meat would be open on a gig, and there's a band playing, and the lyrics of the song are explaining the story.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Follows through, and he comes out.
He like shoots people all the way, and like putting his foot in people's faces and stuff. And
that would be perfect.
Dude,
because basically the whole crew in Putrid Meat are basically members of a thrash metal band, really. I mean, even though they're not, they really are archetypes of that kind of thing. You know, there's Bones, he's obviously the lead. There's Igor, I don't know what he is, like a rhythm guitarist or something like that. Tread is obviously on keyboard. He'd have to be. You know, that would work. So yeah,
drugs.
What's that?
Cut out big time.
Damn it. Okay, so adaptation. That's an interesting kind of question too. What would be the best kind of form for your work to be adapted into? I've thought about this with Pinky TA. Obviously, the gold standard these days is a Netflix kind of series where, because everything's in, you know, TV now. That's what we all want to do. That would be like, if you had like your dream project, you'd be able to do whatever you wanted, have your whole story just told like, what's that thing? Game of Thrones, you know? So that would be the dream.
Mm.
But would your work really fit to that kind of thing?
Well, mine would, because it's a series, you know, sort of. So it would be trickier to adapt to like a movie and make one story that sort of introduces all the characters and gives them something to do, and you know, some kind of stakes to care about, and then some kind of ending. I can kind of picture mine in movie terms being, you know, all these characters are kind of, you know, slackers. They're kind of weirdos a little bit, and they're kind of stuck in life, if you will. They're lovable, I think. So you kind of set up that and sort of their strangeness, and then I would have, you know, several plots going on, at least 3, for the different characters to be kind of doing their own thing. And then some kind of crisis that brings them all together, because my comic is sometimes very kind of mundane and normal, kind of almost realistic or sitcomish, I guess. And then sometimes it's bigger stories, more action, more crazy stuff going on. So I'd start with the normal stuff, and then the last half would be, something bigger that brings them all together, some kind of crisis everybody has to deal with.
Okay. So you would have an arc to it. You'd have a proper arc. See, I always pictured something like...
If it was one movie, yeah. Sorry, man.
Right,
Go ahead.
Right. I always pictured Typical Strange the best format for that would be a sitcom.
Oh, yeah,
Long
for sure.
form, like Bob's Burgers or something like that, Just...
Definitely. Yeah, it's written that way. And it was originally animated episodes. I did 4 or 5 of them, and I deleted one because it was so terrible. I ran out that quickly. Ran out of quality. And then went to comic. But it's still definitely, it's like, The Simpsons or something like that, kind of format-wise.
So we're talking about this is unrealistic that we would be able to get that level. So, but it's good to talk in those levels because it's fun. For Pinky TA, I would. I
say never.
I'll go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'd go for a movie with Pinky TA. I think just because I think in those terms, traditionally, rather than doing series and stuff like that. So a movie would be my thing.
That comic would make sense as a movie.
Yeah, she has, and I think she's been working on another script or two.
There's a movie got made of something that Tans wrote, isn't that true?
Oh yeah.
What?
You got a movie made of one of your scripts, didn't you? This World War II thing?
No, it's getting made. It's in pre-production right now. We have secured something like we have secured something like 50-60% of the funding. So we're waiting for the rest of the 40% to be secured, and then we will start actually filming. But I have started making my forays into movie scripting, and I'm now scripting a short that is going to be a little bit of a courtroom drama. I've been asked to make.
Say again.
And I am making a short, a movie short. Now I'm scripting.
Room drama, is that?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, a little bit of a courtroom drama, like a slice, because it's going to be 15 minutes long, not more than that.
Cool.
That's huge, actually. That's massive.
Yeah, I'm starting to enjoy it, I have to say. And I might even be making, I don't want to jinx it, but I can't keep a secret. So I might be scripting a commercial that is like a story, because there are certain companies over here that make commercials that are like stories rather than typical commercial. And I've been asked to write one for those people. So we'll see.
That's
great.
Wicked, dude. Congrats.
Going pro.
Yeah.
So if you could turn...
Pro.
Yes, you
What?
are. You're already pro. If you could turn Without Moonlight into something, what format would you choose, Tans?
Well, it depends. If it was just this particular arc that I'm making now, like when this story ends, eventually, that would be one movie. I think that would be the best format for it, because basically it is one giant cloak and dagger / spy thing that is going on in terms of story. It has very specific three-stage storytelling, so it doesn't need more than that. Yeah. But if I were to make the entire Without Moonlight series as I have it in my mind, which reaches up until 1990, more or less.
Wow.
Then it would be a series.
Okay. Like like an ongoing thing or a series of movies. Maybe you could do sequels.
Maybe. Who knows?
Also, the
I
other
think a mini series is good.
a mini series, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be very, very easy
Because the thing with
to adapt to.
like with a TV show, like an ongoing series, you have to make sure that's too much at once, or else you kind of jump the shark and all that shit, and then you're kind of left just trying to fill up and all crap. But then a movie, on the other hand, really significantly, I guess you'd say, what you have to do. So a miniseries, I think, would be good for Without Moonlight, for all the things that you've told me anyway that you would like to do with it. So
That's pretty interesting format. Yeah. Yeah. Do people still do
that's fun.
miniseries?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay.
Stranger Things.
Oh yeah. I don't really watch too much TV these days.
Yeah, that Stranger
And
Things sort of had a beginning, middle, and end, and then of course they were so successful. Now they're doing a season 2, but I haven't watched season 2 yet. But yeah, it's sort of its own self-contained story, right? Season 1 is.
And in
Sorry.
Korea, all the dramas are basically miniseries because they are all standard 16 episodes, more or less. Unless it's a super production, then it goes up to 10. And it's not a miniseries. But usually, most dramas and suspense and thrillers and that sort of thing has a standard of 16 episodes. So it's a miniseries, baby.
Huh.
Okay.
There you go.
I suppose different standards in different countries for miniseries and series. I was thinking there's also like an animation series would be an interesting kind of format. I could do that for Pinky TA. I could see Pinky TA being an animation kind of thing. That would be really cool.
it's
Oh,
funny
yeah,
you.
man. That'd be awesome.
Right? And I was thinking about hentais. Well, because I guess the longest they tend to go like 12. And so
There are
like,
hentai.
I know, I was surprised too. I guess if you really, really can wait, I guess. Like
Hentai is the biggest. It on paper, it sounds like an amazing idea, but they're always just gross.
No, they're brilliant. That's obviously the highest form of art. I don't think Pinky TA will ever achieve those heights.
So would it be PTA the hentai then?
Oh yeah,
Just super
Just a
extended
hardcore.
bathtubs.
they're definitely going to do that with all the typical Japanese tropes. Pinky will be some like angry schoolgirl.
Right.
There'll be tentacles in there somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
There has to be. Oh, jeez. But yeah, so what I asked people to do was I created this based on the suggestion of 2 people, which was let's see, Emevsa. She's the creator of Constellation Chronicles and Bravo, who's done many comics, Go Viking, and all that kind of stuff. And we all sort of decided, hang on, why don't we give people practice on doing this whole thing, creating scripts, or doing like a script adaptation of their comic. So I created this news post and said, okay, why don't you, as a drunk ducker with your comic, just do a scriptified version of one of your pages or one of your panels or whatever. Give us the setting, tell us what the characters are doing in the scene, give us a direction about how the characters should sound like and what they should be feeling, anxious, sad, happy, arrogant, evil, whatever. Describe sound effects or music, all that, and of course give us the dialogue. And we we'll do, get together and voice the characters and, put sound to it and everything like that and give it some kind of reality. Or they can record it themselves and we'll just play it on the Quackcast. So, I decided to give people practice. So what, Emma, as a script writer, and Tance as well, what advice would you give people on scriptifying their work for a radio play? If you heard that. If you didn't, Tance, you can take it.
No, Emmett first. Yes, first.
I don't know whether they heard that.
Radio play, man. Well, prose, lots of prose. Change all, like, if you're doing a radio play, get your purple prose on, describe what's going on. Pick what your aesthetic's going to be like. Do you want to do it like an old school, like, hi, this is the thingy of, doing it like 1950s? I don't know. I can't think of an example right now. But like my friend Rob, he wanted to do a radio play of The Thing, and he was going to be like, next time on The Thing. But what I wanted to be, those audio diaries that McReady records in The Thing.
Yeah.
Do that as a radio play, but like do it really serious. So pick what kind of atmosphere you want to evoke. Pick good actors and whatnot. I think you have a lot more room for expertise depending on what you're doing.
Damn it, just cutting out a bit there. What was the last thing? There's a lot more room for...
I think you have a lot more exposition.
Oh, exposition.
Forgiving of exposition and a lot less forgiving of people going, damn, fuck,
Yeah, you've really got to have the context there to make all the dialogue and the scene understandable. You really have to set the scene, and that is a tricky thing when you're doing something that is audio only. I mean, it's been done hundreds of thousands of times, but it's not like in a movie. Yes, we have.
Yeah, we've done it.
We have.
It's more like writing a movie if you're doing it for audio. I think. I don't know. I'm talking out my ass. I ain't done that shit.
That sounds good. Well, you sound like you have. Just
fake it till you make it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not really that different.
I would say that. I also say that if you are planning to actually take up on his offer of having us voice anything, I would advise to pick a scene where you have a dialogue-heavy script, let's say, and people are mostly either in a room or the action can be very easily deduced from what the characters are saying. So that you do not actually need to have all that much of a narrator. And definitely make sure that you give direction on the expressions and the tone of voice and whether someone is shouting or not. And all these things that you would normally not consider when you are actually scripting for a comic, because you are going to just sketch things and it's going to come out on page. Now, for those people that are going to be reading it, you will need to give them some kind of directing or trajectory on where to take your script.
Yeah.
So go through all your talking heads pages and pick one of those, preferably where there is something dramatic going on or extremely funny or something like that, something that piques interest without needing to focus too much on action that nobody is going to be seeing.
Yeah, good advice.
So much better than I gave. Yeah, you shouldn't have narration at all. I'm totally wrong. Tans is right. Listen to her.
Well,
no, I said not as much. No, I said not as much. You will need narration. Oh my God, that reminds me. The other day I was watching Criminal Minds, and I was streaming it. Of course,
your first mistake.
Probably. Yeah, and there was this recording for people that need probably that are blind and are watching this, and
Oh, yeah.
and there was this idiot that was reading the script to the episode, and he had that monotone voice. Now the girl enters. She's wearing this tank top and she's wearing these trousers, and she's looking with distress toward the door. And then you hear the sound effect of the door opening and stuff. But the problem is, that wasn't the problem. The problem was that he's monotone. Oh my God. I mean, you are narrating and to get abducted, and now the girl is grabbed by so and so. And of course that throws out, I mean, if you are going to have a narrator, just direct the narrator as well.
Yes, of course. It has to be just as cinematic as the rest of the acting. Narrators are an essential part. And I was just going to say, in addition to what you said, Tans, there's lots of different ways of doing an adaptation. You can go a more traditional route with a narrator, or you could go a more modern route that has, no narration at all. It just depends on the style that you want to go for, because they're all valid. It's like Emma said, the 1950s style version or the 1930s style version. That's fantastic, especially if you want to do something that's noir. But if it's right for your comic, then do it. So I think that is the main thing. Pitt, sorry. Did you say something? Oh, everyone's silent.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
This is where the music comes in. That's why we're sad.
I didn't hear what you said. Is that we know as soon as one person talks, everybody will talk. So we're all like gun shy right now, I think.
Yeah.
That's
common. So wait, so did you ask a question? Did I just miss?
No, I thought you actually said something. I thought it was Damn it. Oh God. Okay. All right. As the leader, I will for John.
Yes.
Okay. So let's just give this a little trial run here. So, all right. If you were going to turn Brave Resistance into a radio play version, how would you approach that task? Just as one page. Give people an example of a practice screenwriter. How would she do it?
Okay, I would pick a scene where Hunter and Nikos are basically in a rapid fire dialogue between them. And I would also make sure that I adapt the dialogue just a little bit. What they're saying, so that what they're saying gives the audience the impression of where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there is this scene where Nikos asks Hunter if he's in pain, and he, of course, is in pain, but he's too proud to admit it because he did something stupid. And he says, "I'm fine," and then Nikos pokes him, and of course he screams and cusses and everything. So that works on the page. But for a radio show, what I would do is I would adapt the dialogue just a little bit, and instead of just asking, like, "Are you in pain?" I would make it a little bit quirkier because, of course, he's also a very snarky little bastard, and he would say that, "Okay, I will be poking you now," and or something like that. I cannot think immediately, but he would sort of speak about his action while he's doing it, and then I would have Hunter immediately react and scream and swear at him and stuff like that. And then I mean, that's how I would use the dialogue more,
Yeah.
and maybe some sound effects. Like if Tula comes in, I would have the door being heard, and then she would say, "Okay, what are you guys doing here?" and stuff like that. That sort of thing.
Okay, so you'd provide context through the dialogue and sound effects, which is a logical thing. So you read the page as you have it written, and you'd think, okay, how am I going to translate this into something where there is only sound and nothing else? How am I going to have this so all the visuals will appear in someone's mind? How can I paint the picture? That's a good way of doing it. So you've got to paint a
Exactly.
picture in someone's mind. All right, but what about all right, so the characters, you have to give direction to the actors, because actual actors are going to be doing these characters. So how would you give direction to them about in order to make them behave as you see your characters behaving in it, not only in a scene but
their
the
houses
characters themselves? I'll go on, Emma. Sorry.
Go to their houses and physically harm them until they give a correct performance.
Isn't that how Stanley Kubrick does it anyway?
Yeah.
Very legit.
I would. I mean, what they say about that the best directing involves is telling the actors what the character wants. It's not like be sad or be angry or be scared. It's what, like, give them something some kind of motivation to act upon. Like, you want this, you want that. You're trying to get someone to answer this, or you're trying to get this information but hide your jealousy or something like that. Like, if just a little bit of basic motivation, like what the character wants and what they're doing, as opposed to what emotion the character is feeling in that moment.
Oh, that makes sense. So you
could put the emotion too. It might be helpful none of us are professional actors, so like if we're reading it, like, it might be helpful to say, "You're sad." Okay. Yeah.
Well, I didn't catch all of it, so if I repeat something, my apologies. Take it as a compliment. You can also, instead of saying the emotions, he says sadly, period. In parentheses, just describe how you want it to be heard. For example, instead of saying panic, say shout shrilly, or speak extremely quickly, or direction as to the actual behavior that translates into emotion only, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Adjectives.
One thing I find really hard to direct, and if you find an actor who's good at it, stick with them. One of my best friends is an actor. I put in a lot of my stuff, and he has a problem with this, and it's fucking accentuate. Like, there's this line in the last movie we did called "Occult Ritual Waifu Fail," watchable on YouTube, where the character I'm playing is making like a ritual circle out of Lego, and he goes, the line is, "Why are you making your bullshit circle out of Lego pieces?" It was so bizarre. Owen kept being like, "Why are you making your bullshit circle out of Lego pieces?" Where, like, the way he pronounced it, it's like the inherent circle of bullshit rather than the circle of existence. It's like, no, it's bullshit circle. Why are you making
Yeah.
Accentuation is really hard because when someone's doing it wrong, they don't know they're doing it wrong.
Yeah. That is weird. I've worked with actors too who sound like they've never spoken before. There seems to be no inflection. Takes exactly what you said. Yeah, it takes all the meaning out of It's like,
Oh,
how are
yeah.
you doing today?
Or,
And they can't say that.
and it's also if the director's interpretation as well. Like there is this one director that we've talked with over the script, and he has absolutely no way how to direct the inflection of his actors. So he actually asked me to be doing that as well. And I have a couple of ladies that are going to be enacting some very intense dialogue between judiciaries and blah blah. And you basically have to act for them first, so that they see. So there is also that. I hope
Okay.
I completed it and I didn't digress. So excuse me if I.
No. Okay, so that if we could do that, as when people provide us the scripts, if they could provide us with some kind of example of how they wanted their dialogue to be acted, that would be amazing. Or they could just do it themselves. But what about not only how you want the character to act, but how you want the character to be portrayed? So you're getting some stranger to be Nikos. So you're not only getting them to act the line, you're getting them to actually be Nikos. How do you write that to make sure they are Nikos?
I have to be very candid about what Nikos really is. He is a mouthy little man that projects all his aggression through his words and uses that as a skill. So I will tell him that you will keep in mind that how to defense is to talk shit about you.
Okay.
And because you are this incredibly annoying individual that nobody actually likes talking to. And then I would give some examples, but that would take, like, you can't write that in a script. That you have to have additional descriptions and additional explanations to the actors of how a particular character is. And often that isn't provided. That falls into the interpretation of the director and whoever the producer may be as well. So you do have a gamble there. If you were
the
to
actors,
describe it, yes, definitely the actors as
they
well.
would figure out that kind of thing.
Assuming they are experienced, because if they are not experienced, you will get a blank milquetoast literal execution of the character. So
Yeah.
I'm not a very trusting person. I don't really trust actors to do what I have in mind. So yeah, I only found one that actually understands me and immediately delivers what I have in mind. So I don't know, maybe you have to find the right ones and hope that you do.
Yeah. Well, for theatrical projects, what they will normally do is they'll do that'll all come out in the casting. The casting director will have a good idea of what they need for the particular role, and the director and everybody else probably will too. And then they'll go out and they'll look for people who fit. And then they'll have auditions and see. But say this is what we'll be doing is more like a repertory performance. So you have a fixed cast just doing a number of rotating roles depending on the production that they do. So that's more like what they do with Shakespearean kind of projects and all that kind of thing. So you always have the same actors but doing different roles all the time depending on the project. So it's a slightly different thing from those major theatrical processes, in that you can't pick people for the roles. The people have to be able to fit any role that comes their way. So, yeah, we have to do far more direction. Well, whoever's writing the scripts has to do far more direction.
I mean, if something's confusing, we could. Are we going to look at these ahead of time and write back to people, or is that getting too much legwork?
I think we'll have to do like a modicum of that. We don't want to do too much kind of work on the nitty gritty, but we don't want to ruin their script. We don't want to do a bad job because they've put the effort into writing it.
Yes.
And they obviously have expectations. We don't want to give them something that's completely garbage.
Completely wrong.
Although
completely garbage.
They've heard the Quackcast before, so.
That's right. People aren't expecting.
Yeah.
Do you remember you have done that a little bit, like an approximation of that, just a little taste, when you had asked for people to write a character speaking about themselves or about the comic in a thread, and then you would be reenacting them. Remember?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely did that, and we asked people to give us some sort of direction about how the character would sound, and we looked at the comics in order to get that, because that's one hugely fortunate part of this, that we're asking people to do this project based on comics they've already done, so we can just easily go and have a look at the comics and interpret it from there, which people can't do for a lot of things. So that makes it a bit easier. Yeah, good point, Tance. We did do that for the interviews, which is an incredibly fun process. Right. Do you remember that we did Putrid Meat? We did the Princess January thing, which was so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Some people did their own. I think Abbott Nihil did his own, or he got someone else to do it. That was excellent.
I remember you had a great Exorcist voice.
Yes, I remember that.
You embodied.
Now that's Exorcist's voice for me in my head.
I can't remember it. Oh no, I'll have to go back and listen to that one. We'll have to link to that to give people a taste of how it was done, because that was a lot of fun.
And you also did Basil.
Oh yeah.
I think that you also voiced Basil. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
At some point, at least.
Yeah, I did Basil. Baines did various characters too. He was a fantastic Bones. He did way better than I could possibly do it.
I was like, "Hey guys, it's Bones."
That's the best Bones.
No, that's my pit face voice, not the Bones voice.
How you doing?
Oh, dude, you sound like Quinn from Daria.
Gee, Quinn. Gee, Bones.
I love that show. Oh, dude, how are we doing for time? All right, 52 minutes. So yeah, that's the big project we want everyone to do. Well, not everyone, whoever wants to bring their work to life, so to speak. It should be a bit of fun.
Do your homework.
Do their homework, but it's also fun to do because you're forcing yourself to progress to the next level. If you want to see your work turned into something greater or bigger than what it is, your own thing, just you're working on it yourself, only yourself, then you're opening it up as a more collaborative kind of thing. You're letting the world come in and offering their bit of creative input onto their work, which is what you do when you do a script, isn't it? So it becomes a bigger thing than just you working on it. Other creative input gets into there. And also it gives you more practice to create something to put your work out there and maybe make money off it or something. I don't know. So Yeah, go for it. That's the
Remember,
thing.
that's what matters. You make that money. Get that move out. Rain on
Of course, and it'll
Right,
lead to that.
right.
You know, the next Game of Thrones. It's on Drunk Duck, being written right now.
Do we have a length in mind, or did I missed it if you already said that? Like, are we talking like, 2 pages, 5 pages, or just leave it to people's?
I would say whatever's comfortable, but I would say like go for about 1 or 2 pages. Go for something short and sweet, because you don't want to spend like hours writing out this damn thing.
Yeah.
You want to make it easy and fun as possible. If it's going to be 5 pages long, then go for it. But yeah,
That is getting a bit long. Yeah, depending. 1 or 2 sounds perfect, actually. Yeah.
If it ends up real long, it might accidentally get lost in the mail.
That's
Exactly.
Pitt's approach to everything. Yeah, I never got that. Yeah, it never showed up. I love that.
What a shame.
Jeez. All right, so everybody, get writing. I think I'll even do one. I'll force myself with all the bloody stuff I have to do. I'll force myself to do this as well. Okay. Well, this has been Quackcast number 350, the scripting cast. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll stop it there. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.